Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Airspeed Reads Naruto video. This one is going to be for volume 31 of the manga, and this one is called Final Battle. We cover another 9 chapters here. We cover 272 to 280, Granny Chiyo versus Sasori, Final Battle, Impossible Dream, Reward, New Sharingan, The Ultimate Art, The Death of Gaara, Power and Miracles, and Trust. So yeah, overall volume 31, really good volume I think once again. Ending the really good battles from last time out. Ending this arc basically as well in a pretty nice way. I do have some comments to make about what the anime kind of added to this, which I'll talk about I suppose later on a little bit. But focusing just on what is here. I really liked how they dealt with the kind of end of everything, the kind of death of Sasori. I liked how kind of Deidara, like it was a defeat for him, but he managed to get away and kind of think they were defeated, and then they obviously set up a new Akatsuki member. And then just overall bringing together a lot of the stuff you've set up here, the idea of like, this is the first arc where we're properly we know about Jinchuriki hosts, bringing that Naruto Gaara connection in, using Chiyo in a really interesting way, really emotional way as at the end as well, and just having it be such a great moment of kind of development late in her life for that character just before her death. It's really well done. So yeah, the comment I wanted to make about the anime is just that I felt what the anime actually added to this whole kind of sequence of events was actually really good. The main things I noticed here that I remember are, one, during the Chiyo Sakura fight in the anime, you get basically a full backstory for Sasori. We go and see him when he was younger, how he reacts to the death of his parents, and we really focus on that backstory for a while. We see Chiyo taking over, looking after him, see him begin to make puppets, make friends, and like basically use puppetry to help, repair his friends' injuries, and then use puppets to help basically make puppet parents for himself, and see kind of this gradual shift from the boy he was when his parents were still alive to where it eventually went, and how Chiyo saw what was happening but really couldn't really do anything to stop that. And I just really liked what it added, just that look into his younger life. The flashback scenes we get here really emphasize the whole hug moment with the puppet parents as a way of saying like, okay, he became lost in puppets, and the idea that puppets don't die, and that's his way of kind of immortality. It's kind of like an Orochimaru type obsession where like he became obsessed with immortality, not having people die through puppets, and that's good, but I would have liked to emphasize, the more of what was happening to him in the past. I get perhaps why they didn't do it, and that they were going to kill him off here, so ultimately he is not the most important villain we're going to deal with in the series, but I do definitely respect the anime a lot for just delving into that. I can see how it potentially could have been a distraction from an otherwise super well paced plot in terms of the way the manga does it up to now, but I think it was kind of needed, because the one thing I felt the manga was a little lacking here was why this battle with Sasori was so important to Chiyo. I get it's important, they established the connection, they established that she did look after him. The basic gist of the kind of backstory is kind of told to us through lines of dialogue that, okay, Kakashi's father was the one who killed Sasori's parents, and that's why Chiyo's looking after him in the first place. That's why she kind of goes after Kakashi in a volume or two ago. But I would have liked to have seen the overall story come together a little bit better. The other one was that we actually do get to see the fight scenes between Guy, Lee, Tenten, and Neji against their kind of clones after they've obviously taken the seals off to get into the Akatsuki cave system. They fight their kind of doubles basically. That one I don't mind too much, that the manga basically brushed past it. Like they showed the start of the fight and they showed the end of the fight, and they were just like, "Oh, that was tough," fighting ourselves, and they don't really explain how exactly they got past it. And I think in the anime, it's like cool, but the way it kind of ends is just like we have to push ourselves to the next level, and the clones can't do that, but we as the actual people can. Like in the anime, was like, okay, nice to get a little bit of development for these characters, but not the absolute most amazing thing we've ever seen. Otherwise, I thought it was really good at kind of, as the original, and then seeing how the anime does it. Like I think the anime actually does it really well. This arc, especially the what it adds. So, I did want to point that out, and that overall, I think the additions with the anime, like I think they probably spend a little bit too much time on the Team Guy fights against their doubles. But I think the manga could have actually used some of the backstory that the anime gives Sasori. So yeah, let's get into some specifics. So we obviously picked up at the end of last volume with Sakura badly injured, Chiyo's down, and it's basically Sasori in his kind of final puppet form, his actual body being now a puppet, attacking, and it's basically the kind of last stand of Chiyo and Sakura as they kind of fight. Kind of Sakura uses her last moments of strength, and just before Sakura's about to be injured, Chiyo uses her kind of signature move here, and we get a really nice kind of bottom double page spread of the kind of 10 puppets that she uses, and then the name of them is Secret White Move, Chikamatsu's 10 puppets, and we get this setup that a sign of how strong a puppet master is how many puppets they can control at the same time. So Chiyo being able to control 10 very powerful puppets is a huge thing, but then Sasori takes it to the next level by showing off his move, by basically performance of 100 puppets, basically the secret red technique, performance of 100 puppets, and we just get this awesome fight as kind of Sakura begins to just punch as many puppets as she can to destroy them. Granny Chiyo uses various kind of techniques that her 10 puppets can do together to take out his puppets, with the idea being that Chiyo's puppets are higher quality, but there's only 10 of them, versus 100 good puppets, but they're really not on the level of Chiyo's ones, and so they end up destroying a lot of them, but just they're kind of overtaken by numbers more or less, and it just is kind of really well done. They eventually do manage to kind of get a bit of an advantage and kind of stop Sasori by kind of stealing him up against the wall, but then he kind of slips out, and it's just a really cool overall fight scene as they kind of shift back and forth. Sakura is kind of doing damage, Chiyo is, and eventually we're left with this situation where to save Chiyo, Sakura basically takes a sword straight through the stomach, and it's a really big moment. Like Sakura has taken a lot of damage already in this fight, so for me it is a big moment to see her just get kind of completely stabbed here, and it kind of highlights that like the writer here, Kishimoto, is really kind of going for something here with this fight. It's really meant to be the one where we show how far Sakura has come, that, as I said in the last volume a lot, the idea that she's gone from being basically one of the most weak physically characters in the show, but strong with chakra control, to now being one of the most physically, powerful characters is a huge thing, and, showing her stamina, staying in the fight here, and showing how much damage she can take is a really big thing. And the obviously plot focus thing being here that Sakura had given Chiyo the last kind of vial of antidote, and to basically help Sakura, Chiyo uses it on her, and there's this idea of like, if you get hit now, Chiyo, there's no saving you. But it helps Sakura basically get the sword out, and they manage to, in the very last moment, Chiyo manages to defeat Sasori in this kind of surprise move where suddenly the mother and father puppets come back into play, and she has them stab him, and very clearly they highlight that the swords of the mother and father puppet have gone through his kind of heart section, which is the only living kind of part of him still left. So yeah, I think this is a pretty fitting kind of final blow of the fight, in that it completely kind of bookmarks, I suppose, key events in his life. That the big moment that they do show in kind of flashback, that kind of changed him, was trying to basically get the mother and father puppet to hug him, and for him to kind of feel the kind of love that he had lost with the loss of his actual parents. And so him being defeated by, his grandmother, delivering basically a similar kind of move in that, it's the mother and father stabbing him, but it's in that kind of same position. There's something very symbolic about that kind of works. The problem, though, is just that I think the manga doesn't quite emphasize the core of like Sasori's kind of turn as much as the anime does, because the flashbacks they show are kind of so they just show you that one hug moment. It doesn't quite get across everything it needs to, and they don't kind of quite explain enough that okay, because he was missing the love of his actual parents, he became cold and detached, and eventually turned this way to become obsessed with puppets and keeping himself alive through puppets. But yeah, just really interesting kind of what happens then from here. Obviously the defeat, we get that Sakura is basically kind of like out of action right now, but Chiyo manages to keep Sakura alive by revealing that she has this basically life essence transference technique where it's not healing, it's literally transferring some of your own life energy into someone else to primarily bring them back to life. But in this case, because Sakura wasn't dead, it just like restores kind of, it basically stops her from being about to be killed. So really interesting. And then the explaining that the origin of this technique is to basically actually make a puppet become living. So really cool. Kankuro explains more of exactly what it is later on, but just a really interesting technique to reveal at this point in time that, in exchange for the life of the user, that this could have happened. And they do try and emphasize something about this with the flashback that, if they had managed to perfect this technique, maybe he could have turned his parents' puppets into something living and got more out of, his childhood or something like that. But it obviously didn't work out in the same way. It's an impossible dream to bring someone, kind of bring someone back in that way and stuff like that. So, but yeah, just this idea that we continue on, that we continue, like he continues to talk about how, even if my own grandmother dies, I won't feel a thing. My heart is just like this body. She'd be just one more among thousands that I've killed. Things are simpler than you think. And Sakura just can't get how he just doesn't seem to understand what human life is. And it's just this getting across this idea that he has just become obsessed with like living regardless of what way living actually is. For him, switching between puppet bodies and just, the puppet bodies kind of, not being completely permanent, but being able to make another one is perfectly fine to him. He doesn't seem to understand the importance of just an actual human life and stuff like that. So, just interesting. He says, "I'm a human who couldn't become a complete puppet. I'm a puppet with a human heart," and that ultimately the reason he was defeated here was purely because he had that one weakness of having to have some sort of a human physical trait of having the kind of heart chakra kind of canister thing that he puts in his puppets to be able to control them in that way. But he basically says, that as one kind of final thing, he's going to do something pointless, a reward for defeating me, and he tells Sakura some information about Orochimaru. He tells her, go to Tenchi Bridge in the village hidden in the grass 10 days from now at noon. One of Orochimaru's henchmen is a spy of mine, and I'm supposed to meet him there, and you can do that. So, key piece of information there, setting up the next arc, but really interesting that they set this up at this point in time, because obviously Sakura had a big reaction to finding out that Sasori was in any way involved with Orochimaru last time out. But yeah, that ends the fight, and it's just a really, really interesting one that, for Chiyo, I suppose it's a kind of pretty tragic moment that she's kind of been involved in this fight where she's kind of had to kill her grandson, and she's just experiencing all of this kind of, I suppose, guilt about, she lived while Sasori's parents died, and now she has even outlived him, and she's having some confidence in the next batch of people coming through, Gaara, Tamari, Kankuro, Naruto, and stuff like that, but she realizes that Sasori kind of let himself lose this fight. And it was just an interesting thing, even in the anime, when they reveal that he kind of accepted kind of death in the end. So really, really interesting. But yeah, then we cut over to the other fight, which is obviously Naruto and Kakashi chasing Deidara, and we immediately get the reveal of, finally, it had been basically said without revealing as much, but Kakashi has learned how to use the Manga Sharingan in his eye. So he reveals that it takes a long time for him to kind of charge it up and activate it. He doesn't have a massive amount of control over it as well. But what it is, it's this basically long range dimensional transport jutsu. He targets someone and they can basically transport that thing and basically rip them out of like this dimension and into another dimension. And his aim was to basically like remove Deidara from this dimension, kind of destroy him that way, but he ends up kind of slightly missing and only basically tearing off one of Deidara's arms, and it's such a strong technique that he can't really use it like a lot. Like this one time was more or less it for him, and it's just a cool reveal that given that he's not a kind of natural Sharingan user, it is a kind of transplanted Sharingan eye, which we now know because of Volume 27 revealing it. It's one of Obito's eyes. It's impressive that he's even able to unlock the Mangekyo Sharingan, but his body isn't suited for it in that he only has a certain amount of chakra. He's already revealed to us that he doesn't have the most chakra compared to other people. Despite how skilled he is, the chakra levels is the one thing he lacks. And immediately he kind of has to turn it off after this because he's kind of out of action. But Naruto does back Kakashi up and is a little bit calmer here. He manages to get kind of Gaara back out of Deidara's clay bird, and then surprises Deidara with some shadow clones and kind of really goes kind of crazy like with the attacks on Deidara. It's a pretty cool kind of technique. You see a kind of Uzumaki barrage-esque move or a Sengon, but Deidara had managed to kind of switch out with a clay clone, and kind of we see that in his anger of kind of almost delivering the final blow here, Naruto has kind of got the Nine Tails kind of cloak over him. He's kind of in that sort of mode again, and Kakashi remembers what Jiraiya told him, that if anything like this ever happens, use this seal to basically seal off Naruto's chakra immediately. While it still only has one tail. So we're setting up this idea that as Naruto gets more and more angry and the Nine Tails takes more and more over, tails are going to kind of come out of this chakra cloak, and that's going to basically be some sort of a power level counter for him. And so Kakashi very quickly acts here and kind of stops Naruto while he's still only in kind of one tails mode, and just is kind of shocked to be like, whoa, what did Jiraiya encounter if he kind of knows what's past one tails? That was intense just with what it was. They very, very, very quickly just brushed past the Team Guy, basically. It's basically just that one page resolving the whole conflict with their doppelgangers. We never really see any of it. They just kind of end that up and like they kind of bring everyone back together. And it's just revealed that, Deidara has been encountered by Team Guy. They immediately kind of go over to him. Sasori's kind of Deidara is shocked that Sasori has been defeated, and he says, he died an artist's death, vanity kills, and stuff like that. He says, like he was overconfident about that puppet model, even though it had a fully exposed weakness. So, him even pointing out the weaknesses of his kind of partner here, but. Yeah, we get Deidara's final technique here as he kind of goes to escape. Basically, he makes it seem like it's this suicide technique where he basically blows himself up, and it seems like everyone's kind of about to be killed here. But Kakashi manages to use the Mangekyo Sharingan to basically transport the explosion and this fake Deidara clone into the Mangakyo Sharingan dimension, and it is revealed at the end that Deidara is still alive, of course. So, very, very interesting thing here, and Guy, of course, is pretty impressed that even Kakashi has developed such a powerful technique like the Mangakyo Sharingan. But yeah, it's interesting. They don't call it Kamui just yet, I don't think, so that's interesting. But then, with all the enemies out of the way, Sasori's dead, Deidara is in full retreat. We're finally able to kind of focus in on kind of what this whole arc has been about. Gaara, we know he's dead basically, but Naruto is still kind of holding hope that he's still alive. And so it is this moment where, for a lot of the characters, it's them having to accept this kind of for the first time. And Naruto obviously ultimately accepts it. He's just kind of like, why Gaara? If he dies like this, he's Kazekage, and he's just become Kazekage. And a big moment of just, that they're all trying to like say like, it's okay, Naruto, and stuff like that, but he just tells them to, shut up, and you can see that he's kind of crying, and it's a big moment for Chiyo and a lot of the Sand kind of members, but even the Leaf Village members here as well, in that it further highlights just how much Naruto cares about Gaara as a friend, but also, as someone who's accomplished basically the goal that Naruto wants to accomplish, and primarily both being Jinchuriki, like this idea that he was killed only because he had that monster inside him. Like this, what was done to him has caused this more than anything else. That the people who did this to him didn't care what would happen to him in the future. They just did it to put the monster in him, and he knows what that feels like, and that he's basically being hunted for the exact same reason. And it's an impassioned speech that he says here. If you Sand Ninja hadn't put that monster in Gaara, none of this would have happened. Did you even consider what Gaara thought? Did you ever even ask? You call him a Jinchuriki host. Who are you to decide that fate for someone else? And it's a big kind of moment of kind of defeat for Naruto here, where he says, I couldn't save Sasuke, I can't save Gaara. For 3 years I trained like crazy, but nothing has changed. That he still isn't strong enough to save the people he cares about. And it's probably one of the strongest moments of this volume, and it's a really strong moment to have just before another big moment coming up here with Chiyo. This speech gets through to her, and she immediately acts and goes to use her life transference jutsu on Gaara. And we know as the audience that this is what's happening, but only really Sakura and then a couple of the more really experienced ninjas on here know exactly what she's doing. Naruto is definitely the one who's primarily in the dark about this, about the full extent of what she's doing here. That she's going to give her life to save Gaara, but Naruto doesn't know that. And really, really big one, revealing only Granny Chiyo can do it, and you get nice flashbacks with Chiyo of her talk with Kakashi about how Naruto understands Gaara, and he actually doesn't care about what village someone comes from or anything like that, and she accepts Naruto's kind of chakra boost, because obviously she's on the verge of death as well right now, so she needs the chakra boost to be able to accomplish this. And another flashback to Kakashi talking about the kind of special power that Naruto has, without exchanging many words, he can strike up a friendship with anyone. And she says, in this shinobi world created by frivolous old people, I'm glad new souls like you have come along. Up till now, everything I've done has been wrong, but at the very end, I think I might finally be able to do something right. Sand and Leaf, may their future be something different from our time. This special power of yours, Kakashi spoke about it, that power will change the future dramatically. Become a Hokage the likes of which has never been seen. And Sakura, in the future, don't save a dying granny like me. Help those you truly care about. You're a lot like me. And it's just a big moment of getting across that, Naruto's the main character, and she can see that he is the one who's going to make a big change in the world. But her personal experience of fighting beside Sakura, who basically is the next in line to be the next Tsunade, someone she hated in the past, she can see that Sakura is going to be someone amazing in the future too, having witnessed so closely what exactly she's done. And so her whole worldview has kind of been changed just by the arrival of these Leaf Village ninjas who are fully on board with supporting these relationship between villages and have come to help them. These Leaf Village are getting involved in the sand issue primarily here, and that obviously Sasori is the overall main villain of this arc, is from the Sand Village. Gaara is the Kazakage. They didn't have to help, but they did because they cared and they put in so much effort because of that. And so it's really well done. The whole kind of Chiyo change from as we initially know her to now, that she had become set in her ways, and now seeing all these kind of young people actively like promoting change and helping the world, she herself has changed in her kind of final moments. And then we obviously get the kind of resurrection of Gaara, and they do it in a really interesting way. We cut back into kind of Gaara's mind and kind of see him beginning to remember himself again. Like his hand comes back, and he's kind of hearing someone call out to him and running towards him, and he's kind of wondering like, who is it? And you get this nice moment of just like, it's really interesting the way they do it, in that it's like, it's as if he's known Naruto his entire life, and he kind of sees Naruto grow up in front of him. He sees himself grow up in front of him, and it's, you know, like someone who's so close to him and kind of saw something in him, the person who changed him, is now come back for him once again. It's a really, really strong kind of, again, symbolic moment that Naruto has once again kind of helped Gaara, but this time he's kind of brought him back to life. And again, despite them having not known each other too long, they are so, you know, close in terms of the experiences they've had together. And we see the amount of people that are here for Gaara as well, that he now has so many people who want him to be alive. And we get that kind of quite clearly here, with the fact that a lot of the younger Sand Ninja really, you know, kind of idolize Gaara. They, you know, a lot of the girls think he's super attractive and stuff like that. But in general, he has a lot of respect from the youth of the village, which is something very interesting. And again, Kankuro once again notes how much Naruto has changed things and kind of thanks him again. And this is where Naruto gets to reveal that Chiyo has given her life for this. And we get the idea that it's part of this old program as part of the Sand Village to breathe life into actual puppets. Chiyo led the project, but before they could conduct any sort of human experiments, they quit the program because it required you to give up your life to do it. Yeah, just a really big moment that you know, they all kind of see the sacrifice that's been made here to help Gaara, and you know, just this idea that Chiyo, as one of the old guard, has kind of given her life to one of the new guard, and has basically put all her bets on the future, effectively. And it's a big thing, and it really highlights that Chiyo is probably one of the best done newly introduced characters that is only there for that one arc. So memorable, I think, overall, how they did her. Just this kind of old woman who's revealed to be this really strong puppet master ninja, has this kind of references to all this history related to one of the main villains, acts as a mentor in her first big battle for Sakura, and accomplishes some really important stuff as well at the end. But the very end of the volume is that Deidara basically returns to get his kind of lost arm back and get his Akatsuki ring, and we then get Zetsu basically finding Sasori's body, and he's there with this other guy who wants to join the Akatsuki called Toby, and he basically says like, oh, I have a ring now, because he picks up Sasori's ring basically, and it's just like, you know, now there's the space, you know, can I join now? And they basically just say, you know, it's not that easy, but it's implied that he's basically going to join. So, you know, you can't say too much about him. He seems to be a little bit clumsy, and maybe not the most kind of kind in the way he's just like, hey, one of our comrades just died, can I join now? But, you know, interesting reveal, ultimately a very, very important character, but not a lot to go on exactly right now. But yeah, that's been the volume 31. Haven't talked about the cover actually, I just showed it off at the start. I think very fitting, you know, angry kind of Naruto on the front, Sasori, Deidara, Zetsu, you know, I get why he's on the cover given the important moment at the end, but you know, maybe not the most fitting character to be on there. But yes, the two main villains of this arc, who one meets their end here and one has some big moments but will come back. It's sort of fitting. I almost would have liked to have Chiyo on the cover, just because she sacrifices herself and is probably the most standout character in this volume. So a little bit not the most fitting to me, but they tend to really just go for the absolute main characters as opposed to some of the more kind of arc specific characters. But you know, you can't expect it to be overly specific for these volume covers. But you know, they're definitely better than the 3-in-1s I reviewed a couple of weeks back. So yeah, excellent volume. Love how they resolved the two fights, and that one is a full-on ending. They kill Sasori. The other is they think Data has been defeated, but he's still alive somehow, and they're kind of setting him up as just this villain who they'll do damage to every time, but he's just so dangerous and just persistent that he'll always come back. And I really like that. They're setting up more Katsuki members, and they've obviously directly set up the next arc with Orochimaru and this whole thing on the bridge, and using the bit of information that Sasori gave them. Like Sakura has kind of been doing her own kind of investigation, and now she has information that she can use to help everyone. Obviously, furthering the connection between Naruto and Gaara. Gaara is back. He's now back without Shikaku. So, like, because, like, even though he's back, it doesn't mean the Tailed Beast is back. So he's kind of just himself on his own, and now he'll probably be even better than he was before. Maybe his power level will drop a bit, but because he's not, you know, so focused on trying to, like, contain Shikaku or anything like that, he can be more, you know, focused going forward. So that's kind of a thing to note with Gaara, that he's not a Jinchuriki anymore. But he's obviously been through all of that. He still has all those experiences. So that's very good. And then absolutely standout character from probably the whole arc, but especially this volume, was Granny Chiyo. Absolutely. Just how linked she is into Sasori. You perfect kind of use of a kind of older, more experienced character who is so kind of jaded about things are right now, but is inspired by the current youth, Naruto, Sakura, and so on. Just really well done. So yeah, they're going to end the video there. If you have any thoughts on this volume or my review of the volume, leave them in the comments below. If you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so on Twitter and Tumblr, both of which are linked in the description below. And then finally, you will also find in the description 2 ways to help support my channel so I can make more videos, make better videos, and primarily a lot of this, any support will be going towards me getting a better camera, because this one's battery life is awful. You can do one-off donations on PayPal. There's a PayPal donation link below, and then there is my Patreon page where you can get rewards for becoming a patron for my channel. But other than that, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.